Hey guys, what's going on? I hope the fire starts. I'm sorry I'm so late. I had bring that new kitty home and all that stuff. I had to take it to the vet and all that. I had to do it right. So did all that. Everything's fine. She's around 1 year old. They think 1 year to 1 year and 3 months, something like that. She's not very old, so that's good. Uh, anyway, Ruby did good finding a cat today, so that was kind of nice. We were able to rescue the cat. No chip, no nothing in the cat, so somebody probably just dumped it out, which is sad. It's heartbreaking. But before we get started, allegedly, these are my opinions, my theories, my thoughts, my speculations of what I think happened in these three cases. One of them is going to be really short because there's not a lot out there, but these are cases that y'all had voted on, so I'm going to put them out there. It's Bryan Schaefer, Riley Strand, and Matthew Jackson. Uh, these are three just different stories that happened in different times. Some of them are older, 2009, 2006. Bryan Schaefer still makes headlines. It's still never been solved, although they believe they know what happened. I think his friend that fought with him that night at the Ugly Tuna, will not take a lie detector tests, and I think that proves a lot. So, anyway, he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't. He just didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to really cooperate at all. So that's on him. You know what I mean? This is your friend. Then you should have freaking stepped up to the plate and took the test, right? The only reason you say no is because you have something to hide. That's how they look at it. Sorry, but that's what they look at it. But anyway, Riley Strand, y'all know a lot about that. That's Riley Strand case is always left a salty taste in my mouth. I don't understand how he didn't have water in his lungs, didn't have his pants on, his belt, his jeans, his socks, his boots, his underwear. Like, nothing made sense. All he had on was a watch and a shirt in only 2 weeks. And when he was kind of wearing like slimmer jeans, not really. If you look how they were fitting around his boot that night, they were tight. So I don't even know how his boots would have come off, to be honest. He doesn't wear his jeans tucked into his boots, so it's not likely once those jeans get wet and suck to you like that, they're going to suck to that boot too. Water's not going to push through those jeans to push that boot off, I wouldn't think. None of that story made sense. But anyway, we'll start with Riley Strand, because everybody's familiar with Riley Strand case. He's a 22-year-old from Springfield, Missouri, going to college in Missouri. He was part of the Delta Sigma, the Delta Chi fraternity. Very smart kid. Had presidential honors. Got a medal for volunteering. He was a good all around good kid, but liked to party like a lot of college kids. And back on March 8th, 2024, they took 4 buses from the Missouri campus there, college campus in Springfield, Missouri, and went to uh, Nashville, Tennessee for a formal, a fraternity formal. So they drank on the bus, which now that's came out, right? He had a couple of shots of vodka, trigger warning, and few drinks, whatever, on the bus. Then he had a margarita when he first got there. Then they went to 4 different bars, I believe it was total. Miranda Lambert, Garth Brooks, Kid Rock, and then Luke Bryan. Luke's 32, which is the one he was escorted out of at 9:38 p.m. And then his frat buddy, called him at 9:47 p.m., like 9 minutes later, and he said he was on his way to the hotel. He was slurring his words, the roommate said. Why nobody went with him, I still don't understand that. Why they didn't call him a cab, why they didn't help him get in the right direction. I don't understand why they didn't do any of that. Just like I don't understand why they waited till 1:46 p.m. the next day when they knew at 1 in the morning he wasn't in his room. And so I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't really say, but I just know all those don't look good. And then, of course, when Riley vanishes at the bridge, which now there's some dash camera out that says he was seen standing by that, but that doesn't put him over the rail. That doesn't put him rolling down a hill where he would have been laying at the bottom of it. Just like his bank card would have been found at the bottom of it like it was. He wouldn't have been in the water. You have to go down and kind of up to get in the water. And the water is only a few inches deep right there until you get out there a little ways, but it's a lot of big rocks and boulders. I mean, I don't know. It's right at a homeless shelter. The homeless people said they saw him falling in the bushes. We know that he had been drinking all night. They say 12 to 15 drinks, which I don't see that, but it's possible. Plus, he had some Delta 9 trigger warning and some other things. But still, all in all, with his belt being on like that, I grew up in the river. I've taken water survival courses. I understand how these things work, what your blue jeans do when they get wet. That belt is not going to swell up and allow you to just your jeans to fall off. If anything, the belt tightens up. So I don't see, because the pants suck to you too, I don't see how his jeans came off. Boots, possibly, yes, I can understand when they fill with water, they are heavy, especially a size 15. Most likely, the way he was clomping around in them, yes, they might have fallen off. But his socks, jeans, all that, wouldn't have. His wallet, cell phone, none of that's ever been found. Okay, if he fell in that water right there at that bridge, then that phone's right there. Merged between a rock or something somewhere. How come the phone never been found? Explain that. How come the bank card was found up on the bank further away from them than it wasn't right under that bridge? And I know TikToker supposedly moved it, whatever, but it still was not found under that bridge, which is where he would have went down according to them. But it's a money grab. This city is about making money at these bars, and they don't want this kind of drama in their life. So they open and shut it really quickly. I just don't feel that they did anything right from the beginning, right? I think they assumed that this boy was in the water from day one. And how they assumed this, I do not know. Whenever he was seen on a cop's camera, it looked like he was walking fine to me. He wasn't stumbling in none of that time. And I know sometimes you get a little bit more alert when you see a law enforcement officer, but I don't mean he wouldn't have been that much more if he was that bad. 15 drinks, no, he would have been like falling down in my book. But, you got to think it was all day too, 4:30 all the way, you know what I mean? That's 5-6 hours. I mean, that's still a long time away. Plus the bus ride, all that, right? So he had plenty of time. And he had 8, he had 2 waters. So he had time to push a lot of that out of his body. I mean, yes, he was a point, I think, 228. But I don't know. I think he was a kid that could handle it. Not going to say he couldn't handle it, right? But I don't know. I'm stuck on it because the belt thing is getting me. And I always felt like no way the belt would have came off. I mean, the only one thing I can possibly think of that I don't think anybody's brought up at all. But it's one thing that I think about when I was thinking about this case. And I kept thinking, okay, how in the world could his belt have come off? The only way I can physically see his belt being able to do that, only one thing, is that, they said he went over that wall to maybe use the restroom. Did he possibly have his belt off and his pants open when he fell? That would be the only way that it would explain how they came off. That's the only way I could possibly think of, is that maybe if he was using the restroom like they proclaim, that maybe his belt was undone and his pants were undone, and that could be how they were able to come off. But still, all in all, that's a slim chance, right? Because we really don't know. And we'll never know, I don't think, because they're not going to do anything about it. I think the parents keep fighting. Maybe eventually they might, but I don't see it. I don't see that changing. I think that they don't want this headache over there. That's how they're seeing it, as a headache, and it's not. It's somebody's life. And yeah, they want to build new walls and do this and that, but it's not going to stop people. I mean, I think for one, that poor kid was overserved. I think he should not have been allowed to drink on a bus. That's for a college. I don't think that should be. They have policies in play. I don't feel like his frat brothers ever stepped up to the plate like they should have. I didn't see them there with the mother when all this was going on. Bless her heart. Crying every day like Katie Proudfoot should have been doing. This boy was 22, not 15. And it goes to show you that mothers are going to beg for anything. Please, please. That's what she did every day, bawling her head off every day. Katie didn't do none of that. But I'm not going to go about that right now. But anyway, I feel like he was a good kid with a good head on his shoulders. He just made maybe a little bit too much alcohol beverages that night. But all in all, if you get put out of somewhere, one of your friends should go with you. If they know you were that far off that you were getting thrown out of somewhere, one of them should have said, okay, you know what, I got to go with him. I can't leave him. I can't leave my brother like that. But they didn't do that. So I know it raised red flags to the parent. It's got to. We know that there's so many speculations in this case that there was a car scene. Maybe he was talking to somebody in a car, or he was running at one time or jogging at one time. And it's possible then the homeless man or woman said they saw him falling in the bushes. Okay, if he was falling in the bushes, why wasn't that caught on camera? If you can see him between all the bridges and even partway under that bridge, how come they didn't see him fall on the bushes? How come they didn't see him with the homeless people? Or did they? I don't know. But I know they kept wanting to talk to someone. And I know there was a lot of wishy-washy on this case. But all the speculation, all the theories, all the BS, right? The whole thing is somehow this kid was found 8 miles away, which I do not believe his body could have got that far with the shallowness of 2 of those curves. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't see it, in my opinion. Just like I don't think that he was actually using the restroom and that's why his belt was undone. Although it is a possibility, I think he was too smart of a kid to go under a bridge, especially if there's people all around, or there's homeless people all around like they're saying. He's not going to just go under a bridge and do that. And show me the proof that you've seen him step over that barrier. I don't think so. They said he was up by it, but I don't think they said he stepped over it. But that cop was there for 45 minutes. And Riley Strand's only seen for a few seconds in that clip. 4 seconds, something like that. It's quick. So why didn't that cop hear him hit the water? If he hit the water that close to that cop, why didn't that cop hear him fall and hit the water? That's a big dude. He'd have made some noise going down there. I've never felt that. I've always felt that whatever happened by that tempo. I think he made it to that tempo. The wrong one. But remember the scooters and all those people looked like they were carrying something? I'm telling you, I feel like something bad happened to Riley. I'm sorry. I've always felt that way. I thought it was foul play since the day one. And right now, there's nothing to convince me that it's not. Except for that one scenario that I just said. Possibly he's using the restroom, and that's the only reason. That makes it a 1%. But I still feel it's foul play involved. I think a lot of people do. But anyway, justice for Riley Strand. I hope something comes of this case. It's heartbreaking as it is. I hope something comes out of it. I really do. I don't know if it will, but I hope they keep fighting and we can keep spreading awareness. Every now and then do a video just to spread awareness. But it's going to have to be something big to open it. Like his jeans or boots, something's going to have to be found somewhere besides in that river that I think would make that difference. If not, I don't think they're going to change their mind much. And it's heartbreaking. But, my condolences to the family. I know they're heartbroken and I know they're still fighting. If they want to reach out, if they need anything, reach out. I'll help you in any way I can because I don't feel that this is right. But who am I, right? Anyway, let's go into this Matthew Jackson, this young 18-year-old British soldier that was fixing to go to Afghanistan and serve his country, right? He's a British soldier from the UK. And he was stationed in Germany. And he was on leave for Christmas break. He was 18 years old, as well as his girlfriend. They went on holiday together to the island of Tenerife, same as Jay Slater. And this is the one I say will be short only because of the conclusion that we came to with everything that was put out by law enforcement and the parents, guys. This is put out by both. Even the parents feel this way. And as much as it still needs to be looked at and there needs to be answers because he's never been found, I think I can explain why. and it's going to go along with what the parents think and what law enforcement thinks. And the whole thing is this kid was an 18-year-old serving his country, happy to be in the military. He was in the 16th, I think the 16th regain. He was going to be a driver, like an electrician or something like that. He was a good kid. Been with his girlfriend for a couple of years. They were really close. They went to Tenerife, going to be there a week. They were on their 4th day when this happened. He was I want to say he was 18. I know he was 18 years old. They were staying at the Pearly Gray Ocean Club Hotel, which is right next to the Papa Las the Americans. Right there where Jay Slater and them were. Same area, that's where everybody goes there. He was last seen wearing a red and white lacrosse t-shirt with beige 3/4 trousers and yellow flip-flops. Okay, this flip-flop thing is going to play a role in what I think happened to this young man. Anyway, they had been out. They were on their 4th night there. They had been out with some buddies and his girlfriend to, like, some of the bars and clubs, right? And they were coming back to the room. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a 6-foot wall there, and then on the other side of that wall, there's a little bit of gravel, about 4 to 6 feet wide, and then there's a 12-foot drop off to the ocean. That's all boulders and rocks. Okay, well, this young man likes to play jokes on people, and from what I gather from his parents and his girlfriend. But he's, a happy-go-lucky kid. He likes to joke, have fun, horseplay, all that good stuff, right? He likes to really have fun. And they had flown out on the 14th of December 2009. They were due to come back that Sunday. On the 18th, which was their 4th day into their trip, on December 18th, 2009, Matthew and his girlfriend had went to, like I said, been to a few places. And they were coming back to the hotel, and right there by the hotel, there's a little wall that goes around to separate people from. People can sit up there and watch the ocean and all that stuff. It's like right there, right? But for some reason, I don't think he knew the area very well, and decided to hop over that wall to play a joke on his girlfriend. And so she was like, "Stop it!" And she walked back into the room, and then a couple minutes later, he didn't come behind her. So she ran back outside to see where he was and could not find him. So then she ran in and asked the people to please call 911. Well, his bank cards have never been used. None of that's ever been used. He never showed up to go get sent to Afghanistan after his leave was over. None of that happened. It's a heartbreaking story because I think this kid was a big-hearted little soldier, and he would have been a good piece of the military. He probably would have done well in Afghanistan. The thing about that wall is it's like a lookout area, and it's around the hotel. A lot of those hotels have walls built where the water's edge is, and some of them drop way off. Some of them are, 12 foot. Plus, if you think a 6-foot wall, 12 foot, that's 18 feet in total height from there to the water, really. So, because you're 6 foot up on the wall. So that's actually an 18-foot drop to the ocean. And the things that we were able to check and verify is the tide was going out around 2:04 a.m. that morning. So when he hopped that wall joking and playing, I don't think he realized that he was going to probably fall down to the ocean. And I think he did. I think he may have caught himself up top and then stumbled over because he had flip-flops on, remember that. So you jump 6 feet, it's going to pop your ankles a little bit. It's going to hurt. So if you fall backwards with flip-flops on, you're falling 12 foot and the boulders down to the water, down to the ocean. And with the tide going out, which means it's sucking everything out, right? And it's just a heartbreaking story. I researched this whole thing, and I was just like, my God, this poor kid had such a life ahead of him. And because he was trying to be a little jokester, he jumped the wrong wall, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, guys. There could be something more to this story that I haven't found yet. But from what little bit I've been able to dig on it, there's not much other than his parents feel that he fell to the ocean as well. So does the police and the investigators that were on the case. But they're not giving the parents very much. And I know that they've been pushing every year because it was 2009 and there's still no nothing, which we know that island well enough to know they don't tell you anything. And I know that's why people think it could have been something more involved here, but he had no problems with anyone They had just been out having a good time on their fourth night there. It's just a bad, tragic accident to me. This is what it is. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I'm gathering and what the parents are saying and everyone else is saying, that this was pretty much an accident. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of how I have to go with it, is because that's really what's out there. And I hope y'all understand that. Like, if I find something else while we're digging on it, then of course we'll talk about it. But I still think it deserves answers, right? It deserves something. Go back, find some kind of footage to see if you could see them in the water. Talk to those big boats that come in that bring tourists. Like, see if anybody saw anything out of the ordinary. Like in the Levi case, it's supposed we saw somebody in the water that morning. Okay? Like, see if you see anything. Ask around, right? Like, it doesn't hurt. But, you know, I just feel bad for this family. It's heartbreaking. And especially not to get any answers whatsoever. But it shows you, please don't horseplay in an area that you're not familiar with. And because if that wouldn't have come up later on in the investigation part that we were doing, they didn't have any of this about this wall in the very beginning. It was towards the end of the story. And I think that's why. They put it at the end so you would read the story, which is great because I would have read it anyway. But, you know, it's not like the Riley Strand story to me, where he was found and they could kind of determine that something wasn't right. This young man was never found, and it's heartbreaking. My condolences to the family. I salute you as a soldier. I hope you rest in peace forever. And believe me, if we find something else for Matthew that doesn't add up, we will look at it, I promise. But as of right now, between the parents, all the investigators, the military, everybody has pretty much felt like this young man jumped that wall and didn't realize that he was going to tumble down to the ocean. And I hope that I'm wrong. But if I'm wrong, where is he? He's never been seen. He's never. And that tide going out like that will carry you out because it can go out for up to 4 hours at a time. So in 4 hours, at moving a pretty good distance, you know, at 5-6 miles an hour, that can put you way out there in 4 hours. And we know that there's sharks and all that stuff, so it's not a good ending most likely. But, you know, and answers would be nice. We're dealing with this with the American that was lost in the Bahamas at the yoga festival, right? I've done videos on her. She's still not been found. They think maybe she went out in the water, where her phone was actually found 50 feet of water out there. So they think maybe she had gone swimming and something bad had happened, like a shark or something. But we know the Bahamas is bad for tiger sharks. So that's another one that, you know, we need to discuss more into because I don't know. I think there's something more to this picture, but I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, let's get into the third one. As we're already over 20 minutes, and I was going to try to do 30. I'm just worn out, and I got that new cat, and I don't want to leave her long. So this one is Bryan Schaefer. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with this, but I know it was a huge case, and it's still talked about a lot. It's talked about as much as the Zodiac is talked about, which tomorrow I'm doing the Zodiac. Don't worry. I got some stuff on the Zodiac, and I want to bring it up. I've already made the thumbnail, everything for that video. I want to talk the Zodiac. I hope y'all do too. Because I'm real interested in all the messages that he left. And now to see that the change of that stars and moon actually puts it at somebody else that they think it could possibly be. Like the Unabomber. And things do line up perfectly. Especially his way of travel. But anyway, we'll get into that tomorrow. But anyway, Bryan Schaefer was 27 years old at the time. He was a med student at Ohio State University, one of the best colleges out there to me. They just won the national championship. Ohio State is one of the best schools, especially for medicine. He was his second year there, I believe, in med school. He had some problems that year. He had lost his mother due to cancer. Trigger warning. And remember, allegedly, guys, these are all my opinions. I'm just a big alleged bubble. Take it as a grain of salt. Trigger warning times 100 million. But allegedly, it's just me. Take it as a theory, my thoughts, my speculation only. Don't take it as fact. I'm just telling my stories of what I think could have happened. In this one, I'm pretty sure I think I know what happened in this case. And I think everybody else does that's followed this case. But Bryan Schaefer was 6'2", 165 pounds. He had brown hair, hazel eyes. He had a Pearl Jam tattoo and a little dot over his left eye. His brother His brother is Derek Schaefer. His mother, which had passed away of cancer, Renee Schaefer, and his father, Randy Schaefer. His father was well known in this case for a long time until one day, after a storm, he went out into his yard and a limb fell out of the tree, hit him, and he passed away. Why? He's setting up all this stuff to still search for his son. And what it was they was getting ready for spring break. So Bryan Schaefer, a buddy Clint, and the buddy's girlfriend decided to go out to this little strip with some bars. There's the Ugly Tuna, and it's like a 2-story. There's a bunch of bars and things, and they're building onto it. It was under construction at the time. But it had an escalator that would take you upstairs, and you go to the bars, whatever. And the Ugly Tuna is where they were. Well, then around, I think, a little before 2 a.m., before 2 a.m., Bryan's seen outside on the escalator thing, leaning back, talking to 2 girls, and it looks like they may exchange phone numbers, something, and then he goes back in. Well, we know that there was a plywood door over here because of construction, but it wasn't a public entrance. It was not made for the public to go out. Then there was also an exit in the bar that came out the backside by Wendy's that you could be escorted out of, like Riley Strand was escorted out of, if you were to get in trouble and they escort you out the bar. So some people think that he might have got exited out of that bar, but the bar said that he had never given no trouble and they didn't escort anybody out. Some people are saying maybe because of the fight with his buddy Clint while he was in that bar, maybe something happened and transpired, and they put them both out that door. It's always a possibility. I don't know that, but we know that he was never seen on camera again, and his phone went off. And then we'll get to the phone pings later, because there is some weird stuff about these phone pings due to an investigator that was on the case that's now retired. He was a second-year med student at Ohio State. There was over 1,000 tips in the first couple of months, but nothing panned out, right? His father passed away in a storm while trying to search for his son, right? This was years after, but still. And then Bryan had a girlfriend that supposedly they were going to get engaged soon, and he was going to ask her on this trip they were taking in a few days for spring break. So he went out to celebrate with his buddies, and then he's never been seen again. And the thing was it was March 31st when they decided to go to the Ugly Tuna, right? And then what happened was it became April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, that night, because after midnight, right? So he's last seen on April 1st around 2 a.m. on the camera. And then he never came back out that door. The way out, the only pretty much way out of that Ugly Tuna was down that escalator and out the doors to the street. There's 2 private exits, but those aren't used by normal people, and that's unless you work there. And that's why this was such a weird thing, that maybe did he sneak out that back door, or did somebody put him out that back door into the construction zone or out by Wendy's? Some people think he got escorted out by Wendy's for the fight that went on between him and Clint, and somehow they ended up out there by Wendy's, and maybe he got in a car with someone, and then it happened, because there was a few phone pings later on that were talked about, but they were really supposed to be private, but they got out. They got leaked. They've always suspected foul play in this case, always, but they haven't been able to prove it because they've never been able to find him. From the friend that night, that Clint guy, they got into an argument and stuff inside the place, right? So he wouldn't take a lie detector test for his buddy. He wouldn't do it. He refused. So that automatically made him look guilty, right? Well, then there was also the smiley face guy going around at that time that they thought could have played a role in this. But what's the odds that the smiley face was right there outside that bar when he happened to come? And how did he get out of that bar? So that's why I don't think it was that. I think it had to do with this guy. There's some strange stuff that went on with this guy after, like being quiet. Then he had his girlfriend call Bryan's phone from his phone a little after 2 in the morning, which is when he was last seen on camera. Right after he was last seen on camera, they tried calling his phone, I guess to whatever, because the fight or whatever maybe wanted to make up, and they thought, well, maybe he didn't answer because he didn't want to talk to him. So there was a bunch of scrutiny about that. Like, a lot of people think something happened, and that the friend Clint know and his girlfriend know what happened, but they've covered it up and they've never talked, and he wouldn't take a lie detector test. So they couldn't try to get him on something, right? But, you know, The Ugly Tuna, I've been there. I've been to Ohio State several times. And there's a bunch of little bars there now. They're way different now. When I went, they were way different. But this was April 1st, 2006, guys. And all this time, Nancy Grace, Vinnie Paul, everybody still talks about this guy's case because it blows the mind of everybody. How did he get out of that building? How? There's no way to show he got out. He does not, it's like he never walked out of that building and his phone never worked, except for a couple of pings later on that an investigator by the name of, hold on, let me find it. Let me see if I can find that investigator's name. Because it's very interesting what he put. He spoke on a show with Kelly. He's last seen at the Ugly Tuna, downtown Ohio State. Never seen leaving there. Loved to play music. He loved to play the guitar. Goes to travel with Meredith. Meredith is, I think, Clint's girlfriend. Because Meredith tried to phone him at 2 a.m. with Clint's phone. So Meredith is Clint's boyfriend, I guess. Clint's girlfriend. From what I'm gathering here. And it went straight to voicemail automatically. So his phone was like off. But I think he knew his phone was off. I think that was part of his alibi, was try to call his phone and right around the same time or whatever happened. And that's what I've always tried to understand is how could he have covered it up that fast? But somehow he had to have, if he's the one that's responsible. Did he hide him somewhere in that construction site, come back later and get him knowing that those doors weren't locked like the bar? I don't know. I really don't know because I don't know what time Clint left the bar, right? I don't know. We just know that Bryan never walked out of that door and went down that escalator and left. Ever. They've viewed all the footage. So somehow he had to have either snuck out of another door if he wanted to vanish on his own, which some people think he's sitting on a beach somewhere drinking margaritas. I don't believe that. Med school was hard. He just lost his mother. His father needed him. His brother needed him. I do not see him doing this at all. Not in med school. That's too much determination, too much dedication. I don't see it. Especially if he was doing finals, just finished his finals and he was worn out. I just don't see it. He wouldn't have took his finals. If he was planning on leaving, he wouldn't have took his finals. His finals wouldn't have mattered. That's why I've never thought that he did this. This is something by his choice. But the plywood doors, yeah, were down the stairs across from Wendy's. That's where some people think he might have come out. Somehow, some way. The pings were near Hilliard and Highway 270 a couple of months later. But then this one this investigator said that there was actually a couple of phone pings and it said straight out, let me find it. Okay, the lead detective, Sergeant John Hurst, he's now retired, said in an interview with Kelly Bruce, he may have unintentionally given information that was supposed to be private. Which he talked about the confidentiality and all that of the case and said to Kelly that, you know, he slipped on the phone ping, said Bryan's phone was turned on after he left that place and after he supposedly vanished. When he wasn't seen leaving, somehow his phone was turned on a couple of times right after that outside that area and then stayed off and never went back on. So somebody's either trying to get it off and accidentally hit it on or something and then turned it back off right away. A lot of people blame it on him losing his mom. I don't see that. He'd already gone through that stuff. I think he realized he wanted med school. He loved his girlfriend or going to be fiance, whatever. Like all this, his life was going right? Med school, studying his butt off, doing everything right. And then something bad happened this night. Then I smell foul play bad, and I think it's Clint. I don't think it's a smiley face man, but I know it could be anybody, but the one that he had the fight with, the one that won't take the lie detector test. Who do we point the finger at, guys? Y'all tell me. This is true freaking crime, baby. We point the finger at the one that won't take the test. Because if you're your best friend, you're going to take the lie detector test. Come on, baby, bring it on. Hook me up. Beat me up, Scotty, whatever you want me to do, right? That's how I feel. Oh, we lost our fire. That sucks. I didn't know. I was here yapping and let it burn down. But, you know, sometimes you just got to take it as a grain of salt. I'm playing. But anyway, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the 3. I know it didn't take an hour, but it still took 35 minutes. Probably take 20 hours to load, but y'all have a good night, guys. This is the 3 that y'all chose. We'll do this every week. I was so sorry last night. I was beat. I didn't get in till late. Then tonight I got the cat. Now I got to go try to figure this cat out. I want to put it in the barn so she can live out there, have plenty of whatever she wants. Excuse me, I got the hiccups bad. Anyway, so y'all have a good night, guys. We love y'all guys. Appreciate y'all guys. Thank y'all so much. I hope y'all enjoyed these 3 cases. And if there's one that y'all want to talk more about, let me know. I plan on doing more on Bryan Schaefer and going over some of these other phone pings. I don't know if they're real or not, but they've been put out there. So I have it all written down. I just didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time tonight because I wanted to cover all 3, get them out there, see if there's any of these that y'all are really interested in, and then we can talk about them morely. But tomorrow I plan to do the Zodiac. I don't know if y'all like that, but I'm going to do a little video on the Zodiac because this is a mystery in itself that's never been solved. And we think that I think that the Allen guy or the Unabomber is responsible. And I'll explain why I think that tomorrow night. So y'all guys have a good night and we'll talk tomorrow. Y'all be good. You be safe. We love y'all guys. Sorry I'm back at work and it sucks, but I got another Sebastian video that's loading right now and I'll put it out later. It was done, I think this morning early, but it's not loaded yet. So I'll get it out too. Y'all guys have a good night. We love y'all guys. All right. Talk soon. Remember, trigger warnings always. Justice for all the voiceless always. If there's more in these cases that we dig up and find out, we will bring it to y'all guys. All right? Y'all be good. Be safe. We love y'all guys. Allegedly, my bubble. Bye.